Welcome to Empathy and Action. I'm your host, Jennifer Rodgers Brown. Empathy and Action is a podcast by Rural and Migrant Ministry as part of our Journey of Empathy Caravan to save New York's rural economy. In this podcast series, we will hear stories from the past and present. These stories hold up the resilience, struggles, and positive impact of rural communities and immigrants in New York State. In this episode of the series, we focus on the role of the arts in our rural communities, including the importance of immigrants within the arts and the way art can be used to build bridges, express ourselves, and act as a universal language. Starting us off with this conversation is Chris Ghiraldi from East End Arts. I'm out here on Long Island at RMM Center Amandla, where we have our summer day program. Chris Ghiraldi is volunteering. Chris, what do you see as the importance of art in rural communities?
Well, I think the arts in the rural communities is so important for many reasons, but I think first off, it's a way for people to communicate visually without language, and it is something that is accepted through many cultures. The arts are understood on many levels through many people, and it's also a great way to express oneself and express how they feel in their community and how things could be changed for the better.
I'm wondering if you can think of any kinds of specific projects or instances where you've seen art really play out so important here out on the East End of Long Island.
So like you said, I'm from East End Arts, and I'm a full-time artist. I teach watercolor and acrylic throughout Long Island, and I'm really grateful to be here with the Rural and Migrant Ministry. First of all, it's just really uplifting to work with the children and show them that they're capable of drawing and that they're capable of communicating through visual mediums. So with the kids here at RMM, I got to work on a human rights tree, and it's really wonderful to see what the kids learned about for their human rights. Not all of them were aware of their human rights, and I feel like that's something that everybody should be aware of, and it's also something that we could share and show with a visual medium. So, for instance, I don't speak Spanish, but I'm able to communicate with some of the people that don't speak English so well with art. And we could see eye to eye, and I can see that they're being inspired, and I could see the smile. And that's what makes it very exciting for me. It's like these kids are getting a fulfillment that they wouldn't have had if this didn't exist. And I feel very, very grateful to be a part of it. After every day I drive home smiling. It keeps me inspired. But I do feel like the kids have been turned on to things that they were not aware of before coming here.
Thank you. Now, I don't know if it fits entirely with your work, but what are you thinking in regards to the role of immigrants within the art community?
It's important to have immigrants, whether they're an immigrant to the United States or an immigrant to France, to be making art, because everybody's voice matters and everybody's coming from a different place. And when you are making art, that all comes through, the way you were brought up, what you've been exposed to, your environment, and what you hope to see in the future.
I think I have one last question. So when you were working with the kids on the human rights tree, what surprised you in regards to what they knew about their rights and what they did not know about their rights?
There was sort of a range of emotions besides surprise. I really felt it in my heart when I was seeing the light come on that they didn't realize they had the right to certain things, and some very basic things like the right to speak up for yourself, the right to be creative, all of these things that they didn't really know how to put into words beforehand, and now they have the foundation and the vocabulary to explain what it is that their rights are. And we had to actually let them know, we had to inform them of some of their rights because they weren't aware. And then seeing how that affected them was very, very, very moving. I'm actually moved a lot by this whole environment and movement that you guys have going on. I think it's wonderful. I think what's going on is filling the community with love. It's also filling the community with people that care. And that's important. And unfortunately, for some of us, depending on where you live, not everybody sees eye to eye with us on everything. But this is a great way to start that and to share it through visual arts, through words, and just through the awareness of what you deserve as a human.
Acres and acres of row upon row, scratched in the face of the land, holding the hopes of the seeds we have sown deep in the cracks of my hands. We come from places our children can't grow, some of us south of the border, seeking safety and wages and work, dignity, food and water. From harm may we be delivered, demand though we may be fired, to meet and bargain together for all workers, clean and safe shelter, and the cold cup of water, and the cold cup of water, the dust stings my eyes, my fingers will blister from poisonous water and air. If I speak up, the crew boss insists there's hundreds to take my place here. From spring to the fall, we all make the rounds, from bunkhouse, orchard, and field. In 49 years, I'll be under this ground, waiting for next season's yield. From harm may we be delivered, demand though we may be fired, to meet and bargain together for all workers, clean and safe shelter, and a cold cup of water, and a cold cup of water, I trusted the growers' promise of work, lived months away from my home. Now I yield little more than blisters and dirt, and the weariness in me is growing. If you think you owe my family no debt, let the fruit spoil on the bough. $3 billion of my toil and sweat are feeding your empire now. From harm may we be delivered, demand though we may be fired, to meet and bargain together for all workers, clean and safe shelter, and a cold cup of water, and a cold cup of water, just a cold cup of water.
You just listened to A Cold Cup of Water by Emma's Revolution. Up next, you will hear audio from a video called Empowering Voices Through Art, played here with permission from the Rochester Area Community Foundation. It is about an amazing program called Camps. You will first hear the voice of a program participant named Nancy, and then hear from the program director, Julia Stewart-Biddle.
I was born and raised in Mexico, and then migrated to the United States with my mom and my two sisters. We were able to have documentation to come to the US, and we came here to a really small farm working rural town in upstate New York. An interesting experience because obviously it's a huge difference from growing up in in Mexico to coming to the US and having to adapt to the culture and to the language here. Been lucky to have programs like the camps programs and the migrant program that really helped us to be more confident when learning English and also just adapting ourselves to the life in the US.
Hi, I'm Julia Stewart-Biddle. I am Director of CAMPS, which stands for Creative Artist Migrant Program Services at the Genesee Valley Council of the Arts. Our mission for 50 years has been to serve migrant farm workers, an underserved population. Farm workers live and work on farms in geographic and cultural isolation. In a sense, they are invisible. By offering art workshops in their homes with free instruction and materials, we give people a chance to express what is in their heart.
To see art as a communication method as well, and to kind of relieve any type of emotions, whether it be negative or positive. It's a way to kind of let your soul breathe. It's a way to like communicate my emotions and to really be in peace with your own being. And I think that for me is like your soul wanting to speak. And I don't think the soul has a formal language like English or Spanish. I feel seen because sometimes I don't think of myself as an artist. I just think a drawing or I'm doing something. And I think Julia has been a huge supporter, and she's really been someone who puts my work out there. And I feel like people will come across my work and maybe my story and be inspired to make art themselves.
I am with Julia Stewart-Biddle, Director of the Creative Artist Migrant Program Services, also known as CAMPS, in Western New York. We just listened to a video from the Rochester Area Community Foundation about CAMPS, and we heard the voice of an artist in your program, Nancy. I know that Nancy is one of many in your program. Can you tell us more about CAMPS and the people who are involved?
I've been working in the CAMPS program for 25 years. When I started in 2000, I was a teacher only, and I was sent out to the farms with an interpreter because almost no one spoke English at that time. And they were mainly single young men. And I met other artists in the program also. Eventually, about in 2003, I was invited into the offices to be the assistant to the coordinator who founded the program, Sylvia Kelly. Sylvia was hiring different artists who would teach either crafts or artistic skills, like in painting or drawing. Crafts might be wood burning on gourds and then hand painting them. For instance, we always work at the kitchen table in homes on the farms. And eventually, I took the program over. Sylvia trained me, mentored me to take it over when she was ready to retire, and then remained my advisor for several years. So I basically took over in around 2013 or 14 at the Geneseo Migrant Center that used to be in Leicester, was the last building that we were in. So anyway, we look for people on the farms and in summer programs with young students. We tend to look for people who are especially talented, but the point is mainly to teach these skills so that they have something to do besides being on their phones or watching television, that's something creative that brings joy into their lives. And when we go to teach, it's a way for them to socialize with people who are outside the farm. That's really important too, that we have a good time and they learn something new. The point of camps in the very beginning, when Sylvia Kelly founded it in 1975, was that she wanted to teach skills using inexpensive materials that, if they desired, they could then start a cottage industry in their homes.
Is there a place to go to see some of the art?
Not currently.
Mhm.
But this program, once the Geneseo Migrant Center closed at the end of 2019, this art program was transferred. We transferred it to the Genesee Valley Council on the Arts in Mount Morris. I wrote my first NEA grant at the Geneseo Migrant Center, and back in 2018, the first venue was the Genesee Valley Council on the Arts. So that was before we transferred the program there. So that was kind of auspicious in a way. So once we transferred it, and I continued to write NEA grants for different projects, I tried to make sure that with every project, or I did make sure that we would have an exhibit at the GVCA, and I made sure that most of the exhibits could travel. So I would set up exhibits in other places like Hoyt Library in Albion, there's a children's bookshop in Rochester, Hippocampo Books, that is owned by Henry Padron, who was a poet who taught in the camps program a long time ago when we had a literature program also. So he invites us to show there. And, so I try to get the show out into different communities so lots of people can see the work. There's nothing up currently at this point.
What do you see as the importance of immigrants in the arts and to our communities?
Coming from rich and vibrant cultures, I feel that this background inspires their artwork here. Oftentimes, brilliant color and strong images characterize their work in this program. They bring their culture with them to the U.S., which serves to enhance and enrich our overall cultural environment. And as I mentioned, I've shared farm workers art through the exhibits I've curated since 2018. I've had, I think 5 NEA awards for different projects. And so the visitors to the exhibits are always very moved by their work. They're being honest about who they are. They're making art from their hearts, and that is what is communicated in a very special, meaningful, deep, rewarding way to our communities.
And for those at home, the NEA stands for the National Endowment for the Arts. What do you see as the ways that the arts help us build pathways to empowerment, empathy, and change?
Curating art exhibits is the way I have attempted to help build pathways to understanding and compassion. I also came up with the idea for a multicultural cookbook to help create connection between farm workers and local communities. Our latest project is a short documentary film, which is partly about farm workers' dreams and about what has actually happened in their lives. All of these projects are NEA projects.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the humanity and the empathy aspect? Do you see this artwork and engagement as building bridges and building towards empathy?
Yes, I do. There have been many amazing comments over the years in our guest books. People are very moved by what they see and are impressed with a lot of the artwork. And there are farm workers who only took art when they were kids in elementary school. Some farm workers only go up to the 6th grade. Others go all the way through high school and graduate. Some go to college in Mexico. But I guess my point is you never know who's going to be talented. So I've noticed how moved people are. I can send you some of the comments from our guest books, and I think you'll find that people really relate. They relate in a very humanistic way because we're all the same deep down. Our families are important to us. If we're spiritual people, if we're religious, religions mean a lot, of course. So, I mean, when I ask people to draw a mandala, I've been teaching mandala workshops for 25 years, and when I ask people to think about what they want to put in, what images they want to put in their mandalas, I ask them to focus on things that are closest to their hearts, like their family, their religion, their work, their original homes, whatever it might be. And that's all important to all of us. So I think that empathy comes from one person recognizing in another what is important to themselves. You see it in the artwork, and you can relate on that very deep level.
I know that you've told me when you're working with farm workers that you'll often ask them, what would you like people in the general community to know about your life? And I was struck when you told me off air that you make sure they understand their artistic expression gives them a voice. That is very empowering. You said that, and I feel it, and I see that connection, and even has potential, economic value. So congratulations. This all sounds like wonderful work that's been going on for such a long time. I am glad to learn about it. Can you also tell us where we can learn more information about camps?
From the Genesee Valley Council on the Arts.
Okay.
That's
so we can
where
go to that.
That's where they administer the grants for the camps program.
I think we'll end it there. Thank you for your time, Julia. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
After our conversation, Julia sent me some of the comments from her guest books from people who had seen this artwork from farm workers who participated in the camps program. And I just want to read you a few of them. They said, quote, beautiful depth created from a range of approaches to creating and communicating the human condition. Another said, wonderful exposure of wonderful art by wonderful people. Thank you. And finally, one said, I'm struck by the hope and positive expression of this migrant artist group. They have been given an outlet from which to heal with this expression of their talents and thoughts. Up next, you will hear from our very own Andres Chamorro singing Gracias a la Vida from our 2012 Voices of Hope concert.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio dos luceros que cuando los abro perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco, y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado, y en las multitudes la mujer que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con él las palabras que pienso y declaro, madre, amigo, hermano, y su luz alumbrando la ruta del alma de la que estoy Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la marcha de mis pies cansados, con ellos anduve ciudades y charcos, playas y desiertos, montañas y llanos, y la casa tuya, tu calle y tu patio. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio el corazón que agita su marco cuando miro el fruto del cerebro humano, cuando miro el bueno tan lejos del malo, cuando miro el fondo de tus ojos claros. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la risa y me ha dado el llanto, y así yo distingo dicha de quebranto, los dos materiales que forman mi canto y el canto de ustedes que es el mismo canto. Y el canto de todos, que es mi propio canto. Gracias a la vida, gracias a la vida.
Hi, my name is Andres Chamorro, and I work as the Youth Empowerment and the Youth Arts Group Coordinator. I believe art is a critical element and an essential component of our youth empowerment programs, especially activist and political art. It's a very important ingredient in our program's annual curriculum. With the assistance of professional artists, we empower our youth to design and lead their own art projects, cultivating youth leadership and ownership. We use art as a platform for conversations, helping us to build a more creative, safe, and inclusive space to bring communities and cultures together. Over the years at YAG, we have explored and integrated different types of art forms, including performing arts, which we have explored playback theater, street theater, theater of the oppressed. Also, we have done media arts, which we created spoken word pieces, video documentaries. We have also explored visual arts, in which we have built sculptures, giant puppets, banners, posters, and murals. Thanks to our artistic philosophy and education methods, our members have the opportunity to improve many life skills, including communication, self-esteem, confidence, public speaking, critical thinking, problem solving, and much more. YAG has inspired the creation of many other youth programs in New York State. Art is really important in our rural communities. It builds bridges between communities, helps to connect important issues that affect our people and our youth in a creative way. Issues include racism, immigration, separation of families, LGBTQ+, and much more. A good activist and political art piece could be a great ambassador for our youth and our community. The art contribution of migrants had been and continue to be indispensable to the vibrancy and evolution of the art community across New York State. Their contributions are massive, enriching artistic landscapes with a diverse perspectives, styles, cultures, and traditions. Their unique perspectives can spark innovation and various artistic disciplines. Art serves as a universal language that transcends barriers. Our youth, our young members, are part of this artistic migrant community, and through our work, we facilitate dialogues and understanding between different culture groups, challenging stereotypes and fostering a more inclusive society. In general, I think art is a critical aspect in our lives. Art is an essential tool and language that allowed our participants to expose challenges that are affecting our lives and community. In addition, activist and political art could be a provocative way to help people to think critically about specific issues. Also, art can be therapeutic, helping participants to overcome their fears, creating a safe space for their healing process.
That was Andres Chamorro. Thank you to Andres, RMM's youth programming staff, and thank you all for joining us today for RMM's Empathy and Action. This is a series as part of our Journey of Empathy Caravan to save New York's rural economy. Thank you to Chris Ghiraldi and Julia Stewart-Biddle for participation in today's podcast. Earlier in the podcast, you heard A Cold Cup of Water, performed by Emma's Revolution at RMM's Voices of Hope concert in 2012. We also heard Andres Chamorro perform Gracias a la Vida. A special thanks to the RMM staff, Annette Jimenez-Gleason, Camps, East End Arts, the Rochester Area Community Foundation, and everyone at RMM's Long Island Youth Summer Day program for letting me see their artwork and join in on some of their fun. Our intro and outro music was created and donated by an anonymous youth activist. In solidarity, I'm Jennifer Rodgers Brown.